Hey y'all, peace and blessings. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Y'all, I'm trying to get my life together. Give me 1 second. Okay, well, if it ain't straight, then it ain't straight. Hey y'all, hey y'all. Thank you for coming on through. I appreciate y'all. Listen, I hope everybody's day has been good. I really do. I hope everybody has been productive today. And as Miss Your Thoughts always says, making something move, right? So definitely appreciate y'all spending your time to come through, to come on in and see what this thumbnail is all about, right? So salute to the chat. We got CX is in the building. Peace and blessings. We got Sis Laverne is in the building. Peace and blessings. Thank you for coming on through, Laverne. We got Cutting Edge in the building. I sure am always glad to see you. And we got me in the building, right? I ain't gonna leave me out, okay? Because it is what it is, right? We got CC in the building, Brooklyn Divas in the building. Come on in, come on in. Yes, indeed. Thank y'all for coming through. You know, I'm not one for long beginnings, but I do want to do, some house cleaning. So I pinned the link, y'all. And anybody that wants to hit the link, come on through. Don't hesitate to type in the chat if you're in the back. Because I've got some videos queued up and it goes like in rows, so I may or may not see you right away. Definitely don't hesitate and don't assume that I'm seeing you and just not letting you up. That's not how that goes, right? So definitely contribute. I got the little ticker on the bottom if you know the spirit moves you. I got my PayPal as well as my Cash App down there. Super chats are open already. If you want your messages highlighted and read out loud, right? So definitely, and if you can, okay, if you can. Don't even worry about it, okay? We got enough going on. And times they're challenging for many. You know, you got some people that say they ain't worried about money. They're not this and they're not that. But sometimes I don't believe that they're really being 100% honest, because no matter how much you have, I think most of us will wonder if it's enough, right? If it's enough. So peace and blessings. We got Bolo in the building. Dimple D that came through. Hey, babes. Hey, babes. Got babes in the building. So definitely glad you're here. So let's go ahead and get off into the content. So as you can see, when it comes to the title, Sis or Slur the Double Standard in one word. Now, we have a lot of powerful words in our vocabulary, in our language, and a lot of them have many meanings, right? So it can mean something totally the opposite of what the original definition or understanding is, right? So it definitely is a lot of it depends on perception, perspective, and interpretation, right? So I'm gonna try to keep it at a C student level, as Anton Daniels often says. Sometimes I get ahead of myself, but I definitely don't want to lose you, because this topic can be or is a very diverse and controversial name. And we're going to do some small clips, and it's going to be a progression, right? And we're going to look at this word in the context that it's used from many different perspectives. So when we're talking about the word bitch, right? So I got to make sure that children can't see this in my settings, because that's the topic of the conversation, and I don't want to censor it. I want to say it because there are many people saying it for many different reasons, and it can really come off hypocritical depending on who's saying it, the context in it being said. You got men that call women, that name, and then women become highly offended and disturbed by it and feel disrespected, but then in the same breath they could be, having a powwow with their homegirls or their sisters or their cousins or their female comrades, and they're sitting back and they're using the word as a term of endearment. So definitely want to point out the multi definitions and interpretations of the word, and to show the hypocrisy, right? So definitely thank you. Oh, thank you, CC. I appreciate you. CC for the super chat. She says, Miss Kimmy, a classy lady, she will read your I read your ass in a minute. Listen. Listen, I wasn't ready, but yeah, you about right. Definitely about right. I can't dispute that at all, right? So definitely thank you so much for the contribution. Oh Lord, y'all gonna get me started early and I ain't gonna be able to reel it back. Come on now, come on. So let's go ahead. First, we want to delve into the definition and the origin. So we always want to know the origin of something, because what's that good old saying that you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been, right? And so it's in that context to learn and to educate, maybe just a few, because most of us kind of know where it comes from. But it's worth mentioning. And then again, there has been a progression in the definition of the word over the, I would say, centuries. Okay. At the very least decades during our lifetime, something that we've been aware and cognizant of, and all of that good stuff. But I want this young lady to say it in her own words, because it resonated with me when I came across her clip. Let's go, y'all.
To talk about today is bitch. It is a taboo word, of course, but also one that is used widely and repetitively, and almost always in a negative, derogatory way. It is an old word, actually, one that goes all the way back to the Middle Ages, and literally it means a female dog. But we all know that over time it acquired other meanings, and today it became a heavily loaded word. And there's a sexual connotation there as well, because it means sexually shameless or vulgar or brazen. It's also a verb, and it means to complain, to nag. For instance, people say, oh, she's always bitching about something. And that she, I think, is important, because there's a gender component here that we need to unpack, both as a verb and as a noun. Bitch is usually associated with women and girls. It is regarded as one of the most offensive terms you can use against a woman.
So she said a mouthful, right? When it comes to the different variable meanings of the word. But if we notice, based off of the information that she gave, most of them are derogatory. So it started off as a noun in the English language to mean a female dog, and then it progressed, right? It transcended different meanings over the years, and it's based off, in my personal opinion, emotion. So through the evolution, it has become a derogatory term used to belittle and insult women, right? Implying things of a nasty undertone, difficult behavior, or a submission to emotion. So women tend to be extremely emotional. And that is very true, and it resonates loudly with me, because as I was going through videos where the topic was, how they interpreted the word bitch, it was all based on emotion and how it would be perceived by the person that it was being delivered to, right? So the first thing that we can say is that, or the interpretation is, one of the reasons that propelled me to call it hypocrisy is that you have many women, or a group of women, that cavalierly address one another by that term, bitch, as a term of endearment, as something that connects the two on a loving scale. And my question is okay, say that that is the presentation, that's interpretation, that is your choice. However, if a man were to call you that, would your response and your interaction be the same? Now, of course, men and women interact differently than you have members of the same sex, men interacting with men, women when interacting with other women. There's definitely some grace and consideration there. However, because it is a word that holds such power for whatever reason, I really don't understand it. Because again, the only way it would make sense for me is if it's back through emotion, right? But my point being is that if it doesn't resonate with the same energy or level of vibration from a man, even though a lot of times, granted, or most times when men say it, it doesn't come from a good place. So I definitely understand that vantage point. But if it disturbs you, if it's so disrespectful, if the connotation comes off demeaning and repulsive to you to be addressed in that manner by a man, then why would we allow it to be okay for a woman? And these are just questions. Look, I ain't got a dog in the fight because people don't address me in that fashion, nor will I tolerate to be addressed in that fashion. So I can't say that I can really relate. So, and definitely my tribe and my female companions and family, we don't ever address ourselves or one another in that fashion, period. Especially, again, when it comes to being a term of love and endearment, right? And the fact that words hold power, we can't just walk over that. You know, when it comes to whether words are used in a playful banter or not, words carry spiritual energy and emotional weight. And if it is given from a place of spiritual impurity and foulness, then that's how it's going to be perceived. However, I will add to that that words again have power. They absolutely have power. So just if you recognize that there is a spiritual energy connected to your vernacular, I don't care if it's that word, bitch, or any other word, it is going to yield a certain energy and outcome, right? So let's go on into the next video. First, let's see. Miss Yo Thought says some women seem offended by this word, but sleep with their man that have called them this word in multiple occasions. Very true. And we're going to come across a variance of different responses from males and females with different viewpoints, and they use the word differently. So, of course, the way that they deliver it, what they believe is definitely going to be different. So, absolutely, Yo Thoughts, let's go to this and let's see how a woman explains her situation when it comes to how she interacts with other women. And if you don't come with that bitch energy, then y'all not going to be compatible. So just to keep it real, we do have a percentage of women that really operate in this energy. Let's go.
If I call you bitch, that is a great thing. Bitch is my favorite term of endearment. I was dating this guy one time and we went on a date and he wrote me afterward. He said, I'd really like it if you would stop calling me bitch. That's offensive to me. I wrote back, I said, this just ain't gonna work then. Because if we can't go bitch what, bitch yes, back and forth, it's not gonna be a vibe.
I want to hear that one more time. It was a short clip, but yet I want us to make sure that everybody upon the sound that, have ears upon the sound of her voice really get in the way that she's delivering it, how she means that.
Gotta know about me. If I call you bitch, that is a great thing. Bitch is my favorite term of endearment. I was dating this guy one time and we went on a date and he wrote me afterward. He said, I'd really like it if you would stop calling me bitch. That's offensive to me. I wrote back, I said, this just ain't gonna work then. Because if we can't go bitch what, bitch yes, back and forth, it's not gonna be a vibe.
Now, I also want to make a note that she has a child in her presence while she is making this video and using that vernacular, as if kids' brains are not sponges and they don't pick up on everything. And it could be a misconception, but I can't help but notice that that child is in tow, which if she hit the live button or the pre-record button to post this on social media, why can't somebody else tend to the child while you are making this kind of message in this environment? You know, I get ostracized a lot. I'm used to it. Don't bother me. I am who I am at the end of the day and the beginning of the day and throughout the course of the day. And I can't change, nor am I willing to try to change the essence of who God created me to be to satisfy somebody else's insecurities or to amplify their insecurities. That's none of my business. We all have them. I don't have any control over anybody else. But what I can say is that I'm going to call it out, no matter who it makes uncomfortable. There are things that people that are close to me call out that have definitely and still do from time to time make me feel uncomfortable. That is called accountability. If you can get past the being uncomfortable part of it and understand that somebody else is absolutely interested and invested enough in that relationship with you to risk telling you their truth and what they see, hoping that you will look at accountability as love instead of as criticism. Okay? So I say all that to say that she has a child that she is raising, whether it is solo dolo or with somebody else. And no matter what age that child is, if you are that comfortable speaking in such a way on camera with that situation, I can only imagine what goes on behind the scenes when the camera's off. So there's all different types of perspectives. There's all different types of ways of interpreting how it's delivered. She definitely and has explained that, you know what, if you're not bringing that bitch energy, if you're not matching my energy of where my interpretation and the way that I implement that word in my vocabulary as a big part of my vocabulary, then yeah, you can move around, right? So, hey, Spitting Fire, just drop in to say hello and show you support. Oh, appreciate you. Thank you so much for sliding through. And thank you for blessing the platform, Miss Spitting Fire. Hoping all is well with you. It's been a minute, but I understand people be having things to do. Listen, life be lifing. So prayers up to you. And thank you so much for sliding through, sis. Thank you for sliding through. Listen. Speaking of another way, and this, I was debating on whether I even wanted, because we see enough negativity and stuff going on, but it's important to address things that are uncomfortable topics that shine light on the dysfunction. And again, it has to do with a child becoming a young lady. And this was the influence that she had. And the reason it really disturbed me is, again, if you can do this in front of an audience, in front of a camera where it's going to live forever, what do you do when the camera's off? What do you do? How do you interact? How cruel are you? How insulting are you? And I labeled this video Hurt People, Hurt People. Let's go.
Say respect goes both ways. It's like
if you act like a bitch, that's what you're gonna be called.
You can't just keep
I say,
here.
yeah, she wanna let's just put out here. Now you playing crazy. I be calling her sometimes. I be like, what the you who finna keep saying, hey Kaylee, just calm down. No, bitch, what the wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Yo think you wrong. That's how the I talk to her. That's the truth.
She say,
So, and no need to show that twice. I don't know that young lady, but I said a prayer for her. And I don't even know how old this video is, but it appears to me you have, I don't know anybody in my life that can talk to something that they gave life to that represents them, that is a replica of them in some way, fashion, or form. I don't know if she's got issues with her father, but she sees her father in her every time she interacts with her and she's bitter with him. I don't know where all of that hurt, anger came from, but again, she called her daughter several times, amongst other expletives, a bitch on national television. And we talk about the words holding power. But let's talk about briefly the generational disconnect. Older people are supposed to, by the natural order of things, in my opinion, look at that word or words used in a certain context as being disrespectful, period. Now, you have some younger generations that might view it as slang or sisterly language, especially when it comes to the music that is being aired and programmed into us through radio stations and social media and all that other good stuff, right? But in this video, it seemed like there was a role reversal. If what I stated you have any belief in, you have any agreement with. And the young lady looked at it as being super disrespectful, while the mother thought that that was just totally acceptable, an acceptable way of interacting with her daughter in front of the world, much less in private. When you talk about a generational disconnect, this is how it happens. Now, these problems between this mother and this daughter are far deeper than just her utilizing the word bitch, but she used it several times to where it can be an example of how detrimental that and words like it can be. We have to be aware and cognizant that words have power, period, point blank. We can't, and I think one of the issues that our society has is that there's no value in words anymore. That people just associate, create their own vernacular, their own words, their own slang. There's no defining line or no line in some instances of where a word can be used in a positive context but have a negative connotation or meaning to it. Okay. Now we're going to look at this in this next video clip. Now, mind you, for those that have come into the stream since it began, I have pinned, let me know if the link is pinned at the top, y'all, of the chat. If not, I'll do it again. Hold on. Nope, that ain't it. This is it. Oh no, it should be pinned. Okay, so if there's anybody that wants to hit the link at any point, if I don't see you, just type it in the chat, right? So now we do have I want to get a gentleman's perspective because we've listened to three different women, and of course, depending on what man is speaking and what his upbringing was, what his foundational belief on the word is, it's going to vary. But it just struck me that a man said this because some people could look at it as being extreme, especially when it comes to the people and the individuals that find that word bitch to be a term of endearment or a term of sisterly love and language. This is how we show each other that we love one another, is by calling each other bitches. Okay. So let's go ahead and hear what he has to say, because he can say it a lot better than I can.
Never trust a man that will call you a bitch. The moment that he starts calling you a bitch, he wants to fight you. And once he wants to fight you, he's going to look for any and everything to be provoked by anything you do or say. A man who uses the word bitch as if it's a second language would use it to feel his anger and would use it to justify his actions towards you. A man who can call you a bitch will kill you. Let me repeat myself. The first sign of a man that could potentially cause you harm or kill you is his fluent use of the word bitch. Do not think that that man that called you a bitch won't kill you, because he will.
Now, personally, I will say that there are exceptions to every rule, right? I don't know what it's based off of. Neither do I care, because at the end of the day, the majority could believe that, right? He evidently does. And coming from a man's space, a man's psyche, a man's perspective, a man's sense of logic, definitely is going to look at things differently than women do, right? So I thought it was important to have that type of opinion and belief on somebody that you can relate to and connect to, which is another man, right? So I don't know. We have, because of the sector we're in, that word is used a lot, whether it's bitch, bitch ass nigga, anything in between. I don't condone it. I don't care what the woman has said or done. At the end of the day, if a man is calling her that, or if another woman is calling her that, I'm going to look at both as being a sign of disrespect because of the connotation and the energy that it is being delivered in. Okay. I just don't. I think there's the English vocabulary is so large and diverse, and it has billions of words in it. Why can't we find another word that connects and that definitely defines as being a term of endearment or love, sisterly love, brotherly love, right? Let's see, cutting edge, what'd you say? The word bitch in some aspect, I think, has become more vile as time has passed. It's taken on more meanings from its original essence. Therefore, in this day and age, I think it has become a top tier vulgar word. I agree with that, and that makes perfect sense. Absolutely makes perfect sense. Again, there is a spiritual energy connected to any word that we say from different vibrational levels. We have to absolutely take those things into account. And because the Bible also speaks of, if you believe in the Bible, in the last days, man will have a lack of natural affection for one another. And when you talk about the scriptures being prophetic, to me that is spot on when you look at how a majority of the people interact with one another, how we talk to one another, how we communicate or lack thereof in respect with one another, how leading with respect is becoming less prominent and less popular, in my opinion, in my experience, in what my eyes see and my ears take in. Now, to move on, I want this next video. I loved how she lifts up. It's not just about saying what's wrong. It's bringing a call to action as to what can be made right. How can we change? So we know we can. So we know we can, at any given point, take some personal and self-inventory. That's a personal decision that can only be made by thyself. But there is definitely always something you want. If you want to change, then what do I go to? Let's go.
Y'all have to stop with the B word. Please, please, please. Stop referring to other women as the B word. I know you don't mean any harm because that's the excuse everybody says, but it is harmful. If you understood that words have power, you wouldn't call another woman out of her name. And I always like to think of this example. If you were to meet a queen, a real queen that lives in a royal palace, although we are all real queens, but I'm saying someone like Queen Elizabeth, I'm pretty sure you would control your lips, your tongue, not to call her the B word. Although you know it's in your mind it's not malicious, but you know better not to address her in that way because you see her value. I just feel like when people call other people outside of their name, it probably don't have nothing to do with the person, but it has everything to do with you. You don't see yourself valuable because as a valuable woman, you're not going to call another woman outside of her name.
She made a good point. She said, if you were to, even though we are all queens or all designed to be queens in our essence, if you were to go to an actual proclaimed queen's residence or space, you would move and treat her as such. That would not be your first go-to, your second, or your third, because that queen demands the respect that she should be leading in order to establish the reciprocity. Okay? So when we talk about words having power, the energy that is based and given, that is based off of and given through is going to determine the intent and the original purpose that it is being said, right? So let's go on to the next one. Again, if anybody wants to hit the link, I won't say it no more. I know people come in and go out and stuff, and I just want everybody to know that the pin is linked. If you have something to contribute to the conversation, you have an opinion, you have a personal experience you think that people can learn from, that we can gain some value from, I definitely encourage you to do so. This is, I think, a great topic. My oldest son was the one that kind of brought this to me and said, Mom, because I think in his generation, he is seeing a lot of the hypocrisy when it comes between the man and the woman, right? And how the word is used and how easily offended women can get. But I want to throw a little bit of comedy in here, as well as giving a perspective. And I thought this was funny. So it was funny, but it wasn't. And it makes me hypocritical in a sense, but it was given in, I think it was to teach a lesson, but it was given in jest through a comedic, presentation.
I think I stepped on dog poop.
Finally, bitch, you gonna make
I think
me
I stepped
late.
on
Let's go.
What'd you just call me?
Nothing. Let's go.
What'd you just call me?
You're gonna make me late, babe. Let's go. I said, babe.
That's what I thought.
Bitch,
You did it again. What'd you just call me?
nothing.
You just called me a bitch.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you
go.
did. You called me a bitch.
Drive.
You called me a bitch.
No, I didn't. I would never call you that, babe.
You go straight two. Yo,
What?
that's straight three. There's no bitch in this car besides you. I'm looking at her.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
You call me a bitch, bitch.
Bitch.
Now, I guess the second time I saw it is not as funny, but he was obvious. I don't know, a lot of these content creators or people that do their vlogs and their parodies, a lot of them really come off as being convincing when it's definitely rehearsed. They're good actors and actresses, so it's hard to be able to tell sometimes which is authentic, organic, and which is made up. But he did seem irritated. He seemed offended. And then the more she said it, the more offended he became, to where he matched her energy and called her the same thing that she called him. And it appeared that maybe it was something he had been holding back because he felt that it was disrespectful, but now she done gave him permission to match that energy, right? So now you done called the man a bitch 3 times, and I don't know, that hit different. And I would imagine it hits different when a woman is calling a man that, even in jest, even if it's something that definitely you don't really, you're not giving it in a really foul way or with a foul based energy. It's the best way. I just came to my brain, y'all. But definitely, no, he didn't seem like he was playing. He seemed like he was definitely disturbed, offended, and the fact that she kept repeating it was definitely an added aggravation to what he was already, feeling, thinking. Okay, now you done said this one time, now you done said this twice. So you mean to tell me you had the nerve to repeat this for another time, right? Now, I love and respect the teachings of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and this is an extremely brief and short clip, but he don't need a long time to get his point across and for it to have the impact that he intends for it to have. Let's watch.
You disrespect God when you call a woman a bitch, and you disrespect yourself, because if she's a bitch and she produced you, then you are the son of a bitch. Is that right?
Is that right? Let's hear that one more time.
You disrespect God when you call a woman a bitch, and you disrespect yourself, because if she's a bitch and she produced you, then you are the son of a bitch. Is that right?
He said that you offend God when you call a woman that name. You're not just offensive to the person you're saying it to, but you're offensive to that woman's creator. And in a sense, because the woman is also a life giver, she is revered in many cultures and in religions as a god. So if you whether it's that word or any other word, if you disrespect a woman by calling her out her name, then you have offended God. Now, I will say, and I'm not finishing any sentences for the minister, but what I will say is that a woman has to lead and be reciprocal in the level of respect that she expects to receive. So if she's walking around and she's calling him by his name, BANs, and offensive terms that are anything less than totally respectful, then eventually that energy is going to be reciprocated. It is just how it is. I can't really explain it any other way, even though there are many other, I'm sure, reasons and perspectives as to why. But when he said, you're not just offending her, you are offensive to God. We have to definitely be mindful, especially if you want to be respected, if you want to be matched with the same level of endearment, then why would you think you would receive that by leading with disrespect? Now, we got to also understand and recognize that language shapes legacy. Why is Mr. Kimmy talking about all of these particular talking points? Because we could look at this whole conversation from 100 different vantage points. The language we normalize today becomes the blueprint for the next generation. The language that we normalize today becomes the blueprint of the next generation. It becomes the walk. It becomes the norm. It becomes acceptable. It becomes unchallenged. It becomes arguable. We have people out here willing to go toe to toe for the right to be disrespectful, for the right to be rude and inflict harm on whatever level. We have the right. We've gotten to that point. And if you think that language does not affect generationally, just look at where we are. If you have any life up underneath you, if you have something to compare it to over the decades and even 1 or 2 cross generations, it qualifies you to speak on it because it has evolved since I've been living many times over. There was a time where calling somebody that word was fighting words. You couldn't even play with people by calling them a bitch. You called somebody a bitch getting off that school bus. You called somebody a bitch at the playground. It was on and popping. Now we have women defending the right to address other people as such. Hey, Mel, thank you for hitting the link.
My sister of wisdom, salute to you, salute to you. Oh, let me turn my television down right here.
Yeah, don't be bringing yourself up here, getting me in no trouble with no copyright stuff going on over here.
Yeah, my bad. I'm enjoying my Saturday afternoon. That's all. You know, these bones don't move the way they used to.
Just kidding with you. Thank you so much. And I'm going on mute because I know you got something good.
Well, I'm gonna bring a few points on this, and I said I was struggling because I don't want to bring up a situation that I had, but I felt like the only place I could give fair content to would be you. So I had probably about last month, I had a pretty interesting back and forth with somebody in our sector, and if you saw the way that whole situation started, it was because that person called me B word. BAN. And I watched so many people who I rock with actually thought the reaction that person gave me was appropriate. So I listened to you, and you weren't one of them by no means of imagination, but I listened to you and I see folks establish these lines of what's acceptable and unacceptable. But then sometimes it goes to who we like as opposed to what is true, and we abandon those lines. You cannot like somebody or have a weak temperance with somebody, but if somebody goes off of a platform and does something disrespectful to that person, say, hey, that wasn't right what you did. I do it all the time. Actually, that whole incident that happened with me and Buddy, it was not because I was defending anyone. It was because I felt like it was trying to cause a conflict with two people that could have handled it themselves. But then I get called a BAN about it, and some people were saying something towards me. But that's all I'm going to speak on that. But it reminds me of how I've watched some other people in the sector. One of the problems I have, especially with women in general, And, you're not one of them. You'll let something slip every now and then, Miss Your Thoughts will do the same. But one of the problems I have with certain women in the sector is not because they're on this side or on that side, or they got a beef with this person or beef with that person. But it's whenever there's a conversation to be had, they're calling people yags and B words and all these other things because they think talking to a man means you have to be aggressive how you talk. That's why I respect you, sister, because you get your word out and you make your word very clear without having to be aggressive and thinking that's the way you have to talk with men. Most women who talk aggressive with men are probably the reason why they don't have men. I'll pause on that. I won't say anything. But at the same time, we have to get back to a point where, is it possible, just even on panels and in chats, that we can have conversation that doesn't always resort to us starting off with the B words and the N words and things like that? But more importantly, are we going to hold everybody accountable when those lines get crossed? Because if we have a problem with people saying it in general, we should have a problem with even those who we like saying it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. And that's one of the additional reasons that motivated me to actually cover this topic too, is because let's keep it 100, a lot of times it is about who we like, because who we like, we tend to give grace to. But that also has a level incorporated, in my opinion, of hypocrisy. So I believe that all of us are hypocritical to a certain extent, because there is somebody that we love, somebody that we respect or connect with on one, level or another.
I was raising my hand because I agree. I'm one of them. I'm guilty. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely. Me too, Mel. And so I don't know where people get this notion that there is no hypocrisy in people. But I think what separates and what makes a division is that some people and their behaviors and their actions are a little more hypocritical than maybe others. Like you said, every now and again you can get a pass, but just to ignore that behavior, and that's something that you demonstrate or exemplify on a regular basis, is definitely an eyebrow raiser. Now, I want to make a clarification on something, because being in this sector, being on this platform, we can't control what other people do. We can choose who we support and to what degree we support them. Just because I may pop into a chat of somebody that a majority of people are having an issue with doesn't mean that I condone their behavior. It just means that I look at the good in them and give them the level of support that I am capable of giving, or that I think that they deserve, if that makes sense. That may offend some people. I can't be concerned about who it offends, if it offends anybody. But what I'm saying is, it is not necessarily an admission that I support or go along with everything that everybody says because I speak to them in the chat, or because I don't call everybody out on everything. We would never get anywhere. Not that we really do anyway, but I'm just saying, like, I don't have the time, the desire, or the aspiration to be explaining to people that I don't know why I do this and why I do that. Because at the end of the day, I really don't care who other people support. I just know who I'm comfortable around, who I choose to support when I choose to support them, and who I'm not. And that's my prerogative. So I just wanted to add that and bring some clarity, because I know I'm not just speaking for me. I know that there are other people that maybe don't utilize the platform to articulate themselves, and it makes sense to them as well. So I definitely just wanted to make that clarification. But you're right, And shout out to Kwame for, the go along, get along game, because it definitely is true. And I believe that we all have been guilty of it to some degree or another. But again, we all are responsible for our own actions. And nobody can hold me accountable for me and my behavior if they don't hold themselves accountable for what they do.
No, absolutely. Because there are times where you watch people say things that we do support, that they do go overboard on things, and we sit in silence. And so, and in that sense, you can always support somebody for the good that it's kind of like children, right? I'm not always going to like what my sons do, but at the same time, if somebody, I'm going to always praise them for doing something good that they do. So, but it's just that we have to be careful not to encourage when someone's acting or saying things in such a demonstrative way, and those type of things, if that makes sense. But more importantly, I think just the fact that we all show our flawed nature. Like whenever I was on a panel with KB, and there was another guy that came up there, I feel like I gotta stop getting on panels so much myself, because when I get up there and I start talking with people like that, it doesn't make me smarter. You know what I'm saying? It makes me it lowers me to people like that. So I just have to do a better job of being the light that you show and the example that you bring, and so many others bring, because I think we get enough of people having all those type of pettiness. We need some people having level minds and clarity, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And you know what? Whatever self accountability looks like for us, for you, for anybody, I always celebrate that, because we got a lot of people out here that don't think that they do anything wrong, that there's no room for improvement,
And
that
that's
there's
scary.
no time where self-evaluation and probably reprioritizing certain things in their life is applicable or needed at that point. So I definitely would, like I said, whatever accountability and self accountability looks like for you, I celebrate you, and I'm with you on that, because that's how you evolve, and that's how you definitely change and ascend. Where as the older we become, we're not supposed to digress.
Now,
It's go
mhm.
ahead.
No, go ahead, sister. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but getting to your content and what we're discussing, just from what I do in real life, this is a very big problem, because it's a very common thing to see our young folks identify themselves as as such. Um, they take these terms as badges of honor. They take these terms as their identification. You inspired me, because I've been meaning to do a live on the N word, the use of the N word. That's something that I've had to encounter and deal with a lot of our young folks, because now it's gotten to a point where we have recircled back where white society is comfortable using it without any repercussions today. So why this is happening, the only thing I would say, I do have to give blame to our music industry. I know that, Tupac Shakur is a famous person who everybody looks at as this person of wisdom. But remember, he did make a song, You Wonder Why They Call You a B. And remember, he did, the first thing on his Hit 'Em Up song was, first off, F your B. So if we don't hold people accountable in the music industry, it's going to be hard to hold the rest of society accountable. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely agree with that. Since you mentioned that, I think that's a great point. You see how initially when it came, it was given in bite-sized pieces. It wasn't mainstream. It was like the most influential, and the artists and the rappers that had the farthest reach and the impact at the time were the ones that were the most comfortable generating that. And that's how, in my opinion, things get normalized, as people that have far reach and make an impact on many people outside of them if you see them or hear them doing it enough, and it reverberates and it's part of the programming and you hear it on repeat. Or the radios, it seems like they only play the top 30 songs every 2 hours and then it goes on repeat. What do you think it's going to happen? It's going to become normalized. So you're absolutely right. And now we got music out where it's totally acceptable and totally normal.
Well, the irony of that, and I'm going to let Ms. Joe Thoughts have the floor in a moment. Salute to you, sister. But the irony of that is Kanye West was basically damn near canceled for anti-Semitism. But we had music executives, and I'm not going to go into deep stuff. I don't want to get into that conversation, but of a certain group who pushed rappers and to use that word in their songs and made it popular, the N-word. So we can cancel Kanye West for threats of anti-Semitism, but our words of hurt for our people get exploited and become popular in music that rings through every radio station or every child's ears as they walk through halls with headphones on. And that doesn't make sense.
Yes, absolutely. We got Miss Yo Thoughts up on the panel. Thank you for your patience, sister. Also, thank you for hitting the link. And what you got to add, Laverne, to the conversation?
Hey, greetings, beautiful people. I hope all is well. Hey, Mel, you doing good?
It's a Saturday morning. I'm doing great. I got my beautiful wife, and she's making a beautiful dinner.
So all is well. It sounds like all is well in the neighborhood. Yes, Mr. Ķīmē, this is a nice topic. I really like this topic of conversation. I want to say that word is used loosely, for real, all over the place. And you kind of get sick and tired of hearing it. You would think that people would have more of a vocabulary. And I am guilty of using that word, and I will use that word if you piss me off. Don't get it twisted. Okay. But it doesn't mean that it's right, but I'm just being truthful, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing. We need to realize this. Words don't matter for real unless you believe them in your heart. If someone is spewing this language to you. This language was made, the language that we are speaking right now, which is English, and a couple of other languages, really are spells. The words that we speak every day are spells, and we were taught this language to put spells on ourselves. Words are also vibrational, right? So it's a certain type of vibration we were supposed to be speaking that connects with this universe. So it's a real big issue. It's bigger than the word bitch. If you know what I'm saying, it's much bigger, right? But once you realize that some words are more harmful than others because the vibration tone is a little deeper and more curseful or can curse you more, you must be careful in how you speak. And if you look at the Bible, they have all kinds of examples about what that tongue does. It's a two-edged sword, right? So we have to be careful with that. And I wanted to come up here to say that. So if someone were to call you this word, you know that that's not.
You sound like you might be going out. I'm not 100% sure.
You're back now.
Can you guys
Go
hear
ahead.
now?
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Okay, I'm gonna hurry up. I'm gonna hurry up and end it. Okay. Well, basically, when we come to the words, and I was telling you about the spelling and the vibrations of the word, and if someone calls you some type of derogatory name, or that you know that that's not you, you don't believe that in your heart, that word would have no effect on you, and that spell will be broken. So, just like in an instant, I saw a video with Biz, and I'm bringing his name up, because I saw this, and I wanted to say he was wishing death on a person. My thing is, you cannot wish nothing on a person unless they believe that that person's word is spewing is the truth in their heart. Then it will have an effect on you. I just wanted to put that out there, and I've learned all this stuff from my ancestors, and I'm telling you what I know to be a fact. It's easy for someone to curse you, But to curse you with effectiveness, it's an art, and you would have to know how to do that. It's a taught thing. It's learned behavior and taught through generations if you were connected with your ancestors. So I just wanted to get that piece of information in. And so yeah, that's what I want to tell you. And I'm going to drop down so you guys can continue. But great conversation, Mr. Ķīmi.
Well, thank you for coming up, Laverne, and giving your perspective. And I believe that what you're saying, it definitely articulates and re-articulates really what the whole point of this, the whole motivation behind doing the live stream is. And has been today, because definitely there's certain energies attached to the word. It is interpreted in such a way depending on what's backing it. I just think that the lines are skewed, but like you also said, when you know better, you do better. And when you know how to identify the spirit in which it's given, then you know how to receive it. Am I right on that?
You got that. You're exactly right on that.
But before you drop, Miss Yo Thoughts, I do want to say this though. First of all, it's always good hearing you, man. It just reminds me of being back home. Shout out to my BA sisters. They don't know nothing about Virginia cooking. They don't.
No, it's a beautiful place to live.
It's a beautiful, especially when you're from the countryside of it. Yeah. But
Yes.
I wanted to say this. Mr. Ķīmi showed a video earlier about a woman joking about calling her boyfriend the B word, or husband, or whomever he may be. Now,
Yes.
I get that you say that it's something that, if it has, can't nobody put that on you unless you truly believe it. I agree wholeheartedly with that. But would you agree or disagree that when a case because I think some people said it even in the chat, that when that word is used to a man, it feels that man a different type of way than it may feel a woman. Kind of like using the N word. When you use that word,
Yes.
So how do you deal with that energy if you say, well, you're not a B word, you're not these things, but at the same time it hits your energy different if you're a man and you get called that.
The only reason why it hits your energy different is because you know the meaning of the word as they are using it, and the vernacular of the word is demeaning, it demasculates, it's demasculated, and all of that. So that's in your spirit, which is associated with that word, which means it'll hit you even more harder, men worse than it does a woman, right? So that's the only reason why they do that. It's just like saying that a man is broke. What do men do? They have money and they build, right? That's what they protect. So women know if they attack those three things, which the man stands for, it totally shuts him down, because she can't do it any other way but through her mouth. So
or pisses them off.
Right, and they know that'll trigger. It used to be the P word, for a guy that's not straight. They used to use that word, or maybe F word or whatever. So now they don't boosted it up to this word. So every time it's going to be a new word to do that. But again, knowing that is not who you are or what you are in your heart, that word will roll right on off of you, right? And knowing who you are as a man or a woman, whose you are and who you are, words don't matter. People can call me anything they want, but Yo Thoughts knows exactly who she is, and I can tell you better than anybody.
Yes. Now, can I just drop in here for a hot second?
Yes.
And ask you a question. So when I was going through and compiling some small clips to kind of give different perspectives, I was reading the comments on a lot of them, and I was shocked. Maybe it was naivety, but I was genuinely shocked to see how many women were like on certain, like the positive clips where, you had women saying, don't let that define who you are, receive it in a different spirit, that kind of thing, or don't tolerate it if you look at it, disrespect and act on it. But there were a lot of women that absolutely felt some type of way because it was their man, their husband, that said that word to them. And so you're saying that you know who you are, and so those words roll right off of you. But what about the women that aren't as secure in themselves or haven't gotten to that place yet, and they're in a relationship, and the person that they probably, or a lot of them, have invested in and love the most says that word to them? What do you say to those women?
I say, first of all, reevaluate the way you have spoke to him. Go back in your mind, woman, that has spoken to your man, that has called you that word. What have you done to offend him? Not in that moment, but period.
Mm-hmm.
All he did was built up to an opportunity to call you that for some of the things that you have presented to him. In other words, you have disrespected that man in some way. He's not just going to call you that for no reason. Not
I
that
agree.
it's right. I'm not making it a right thing for them to do. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times women do things to make them sort of like, hold that, because men can't express themselves like women do. They're not as expressive as we are, in a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts, a lot of emotions. So I'm sure whoever that woman is or those women are, they know for a fact that they have done something over a time period to trigger that man. He just haven't said it to them right away. He held it for a specific moment for his release. Do you know, like a volcano?
Yep.
That's what has happened. And for that woman to to look and say, well, okay, they may say, well, he called me that word. That's what you call it, a deal breaker, and da 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 da, and maybe end a relationship because of that. Some people will end relationships because of certain things that are being said, right? But you must be honest and ask yourself that question. Now, if you haven't done anything or what have you like that, then you need to do what you should have done in the beginning. Look at his family history and dynamics. What was he called as a child when he was growing up? How did his mother treat him? See, all of these things play into a factor when you get into a relationship. See, so if you pick the right person, I don't care how upset they get with you, they're not going to call you that. And you're not going to call him that.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you for
All right.
clarifying that. I appreciate it, because you're absolutely right. It's always good to look within thyself first. And a lot of times you'll find the answer to a lot of our questions by doing that, to where you don't really have to ask outside of you.
And I'm gonna say one more thing, and then I'm gonna go. Most of the people that call you all those names and things like that, it's just their insecurities, because they know that that's who they are. They know
Yep.
that you're bigger than that, and they know that that's who they are or have been at some point in their life. Okay?
Absolutely.
But how do we get through to our youth? Thank you, baby. But how do we get through to our youth that how do you restore that? Because it seems, for me, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it seems like it's too far gone. Except in your households, maybe, or with your kids. But your kids are going to go out in the real world with other people's kids, and it seems like the people who are thinking this is okay, they're the ones winning the population debate in the schools with our kids. What do we do?
Laverne, you got anything? If not, I have an opinion. So let me just say this, because that's a great question. And you being in the arena of being an educator and being around other people's children,
I'm a fake teacher. Don't remember that. Go ahead.
huh?
I'm a fake teacher.
Listen,
Remember
to maybe a handful, but to me, I ain't subscribing to that foolishness. But so, but when you talk about you being getting a first row, experience every day that you go in and you're with them all day. Again, being an educator, I know it has to be, everybody's not cut out to be a teacher, right? Because our children will tell us the truth about ourselves. And so when those children come into your area, into your environment, they're telling you the truth, not just about themselves, but about their families and their origins and where they spend most of their time. And it can be very discouraging and frustrating. The only thing that I can say is that what we do have control over is what we should focus on. At the end of the day, I believe that the God I serve rules over all. And whether it's my child, your children, Miss Yo's, whoever, if they are their environment, if they seem like it's sheltered, or it seems like they don't have a touch on real life and reality, then guess what? I don't worry about my kids being out there anymore. I just don't, because it's beyond what I can do. As a parent, I have instilled certain qualities. Their father has instilled certain qualities and more fibers in them, things that will follow them through, and in a lot of cases will protect them, shield them, or prepare them to face whatever adversity is out there when it comes to disrespect. But again, when you talk about normalizing it, it's so normal now. Again, and I said this earlier, that people, not just children, but people that don't conform to the normal way that society interacts and deals with one another, it used to be the majority, now it's the minority. I can't be concerned about that. Just teach your children how to respond and to pick their battles, and to, if you reassure your children and you help build your children's confidence and give them permission to be different, make it okay for them to recognize that it's okay if I'm not like the majority. I wasn't created like the majority. I'm created to be me, because that really makes a difference when a person, not just a child, again, feels like they are okay navigating and standing out, then that's half the battle, in my opinion, because like Miss Yo said, a lot of things will roll off, right? If they know that those insults or that language that has been normalized, that comes off with negative connotations, with negative energy backing it, it won't affect them and it won't resonate with them so loudly if they are equipped and ready to be different, accept it, embrace it, and look at it as the blessing that it is. So that's just my personal opinion. But Miss Yo thoughts, she said, at male, also stop having grown folks conversation around them.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
When we speak, say what we mean and what we say one time.
Yeah, I mean, I started seeing myself picking up. Language. So out of the things that I do, with sports and whatnot, when I would be around some of my players, I would start seeing the habits of AU coaches and the language, how they used it. And admittedly, sometimes that had crept up in my vernacular, so I had to change that quick. I had to do a real quick self-reflection on that. And at the same time, with my sons around, I can forget that they're around, and I can remember having a conversation, saying something I probably would say with adults. But at the same time, to what Ms. Yo Thought said about not having grown folks conversations around them, there are times where I can remember one of my sons slipping out a word or two that they shouldn't say, and they say, "Well, Daddy, I heard you say it." And we've lost this one thing as parents that we used to have and the kids used to understand. I'm grown. I can say what I want to say. You're not. You can't. And you better not, or else. We don't do that with kids anymore. Now we parent guilty. I get that we want to be the model and examples, but there are certain things adults can do that kids can't. And we've blended that line way too much. Even teachers or coaches, now that line is too blended, where a coach is cool with their kids cursing and saying stuff on the court, to the point now, athletics are not even what they are because kids are cursing so much. So I don't know if that makes sense or not.
My son's football coach, when he and I initially met and was scouting one another, I wanted to see if it's something a team that I thought would be a good fit for my son, and vice versa. one of the first things he said, I don't play when it comes to the dedication of this sport and the discipline that is required, not just in this sport, but towards their academics, their real life, respecting parents and all that. But then he turned around and said, but we do cuss. We do cuss out here. And, you know, at the time, I just took a mental note of it, right? So but I didn't want to like tune him out to not hear anything else that he was saying. I appreciated him for being straight up and honest. However, upon reflection, it's like, okay, well, how many good attributes and positive, um, um, things can he provide for his players opposed to the negative? Is that something worth him not, me having an issue with him being on that team? Because I heard him on the previous team, well, not him, but the players, because I would always sit by the sidelines, and it was the same at all of the schools. To me, it was no different. I just appreciated him saying it, but it goes along to what you're saying and what we're speaking on, the normalization of it. But then, like, you being around those children, and me, being around my kids, it's easy to pick up and recycle that same.
So I want some of you guys to think to your point, what Ms. Kimmy has just said. I want y'all to visualize a school building. And I want you to visualize maybe 1,500, 2,000 kids walking around. Probably a third of them have headphones a majority of the time they're walking. 2/3 of them probably are using their phones a majority of the time while they're walking. Some of them are using these devices in class when they should be learning. Do you think they're listening to doo-wop music? Do you think they're listening to slow jam R&B music or something like that from the 1970s and 1980s? No, they're listening to the F, B, N, every type of word possible. So if they're doing that at least 1/3, 2/3 of their day, obviously they're going to pick up on that. And that's where the real problems are happening with the kids. It's almost like vaping now. It's too common for kids to have access to it, so they don't have the same value of the seriousness of it as we once did. I know when I was growing up, I heard my mother curse, I heard my father curse, but I still knew not to say it because I knew they were gonna get me. So,
do you think that parents trying to be kids' friends, I don't want to veer too off topic, but being too familiar gives them the sense of entitlement that it should be okay and normal for them to say it?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Do you believe that parents trying to be kids as friends more than parent has led to them becoming too familiar to the point where kids are like, okay, you do it, I do it, so I'm not listening to what you say, I'm emulating what you do, because in so many words and your actions or lack thereof, you have given me the permission to go ahead and do what you do since you do it.
Well, I think it goes back to relationship parenting. A lot of times, with our community especially, we see such a high rate of single parent homes. So I think a lot of times the moms raise their sons in a way of a relationship as opposed to raising them or a co-parent understanding of this is the right way to do things, this is the wrong way to do things. So I think in a lot of ways, people think boys becoming a man involves them having to either fight, be profane, or be just ignorant, or do some ignorant stuff. You saw when I did that live, and that woman who was beating on her child and calling him all kinds of P words. I think so. I think that type of relationship has crept in way too much, and even on the white side as well, in the white communities, divorce rate has crept up. So now you're seeing such a high a break in relationships where now they're relationship parenting as well too. So instead of if one of my players said "F you, coach," if I kicked him off the team, it would have been. It used to be that parent defending me for not having a player like that. Now these parents, because they relationship parent so much, now it's, well, what did the coach do? What did the teacher do? What did the principal do? It's no longer a situation of, I don't care what they did, you shouldn't have said this, and that's not how we raise you. That's gone, in my opinion. So that's to respond to your question.
Okay, I appreciate your perspective on that. That is interesting. When it comes to there, I think there's a lot of different components and contributing factors to um, why children find it so comfortable. But I think you nailed it on the head when it comes to speaking on the music, on the environment, what they're exposed to a majority of their day. How they navigate. And then, like you also said, a lot of single parent homes that definitely where the mother has to work or she's working multiple jobs. And if there's multiple children, she's having to provide more, which means in a lot of cases, she's less available to her children. Right. So I definitely, it's a big battle. It really is at the end of the day, because how do you go against what has become the norm and seems is so acceptable and is so readily accepted, not just by the children, but the parents, that whether they silently or openly give the children permission to do what they do and not do what they say. I think there's a level of hypocrisy in that myself personally. My mom used to, and my dad used to say that, especially when they did something that I was looking at them sideways, and they knew I was looking at them sideways. And then they would say, "Well, do what and I'm like, well, why? But why is it okay for you to do it, but not for me to do it?" And you can't really explain that. So, but that's a whole nother, battle to fight.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I grew up with that. I grew up with that rule as well too. But I didn't understand that rule until I became a parent,
You
because
understand?
there are some things I can't justify to my kids, but I just know they better not do it. So
But we are also living in an environment and a time where people just say these kids ain't buying that do as I do and not as I say. They like, no, that ain't what we doing. If you doing it, then it must be okay for me to do it. I have to be careful about, because I don't know, like sometimes I done got so relaxed in some of my driving habits where I live. It's not like the hustle bustle city, congested driving, that now that my youngest son is learning how to drive, I have to like be extremely careful and cognizant to follow the rules of the road, because I already see it coming. He gonna go to driving school, go take that test, and they gonna be like, no, you're gonna have to come back because you coasted that little stop sign right there. You cut it too close under that yellow light. And I know my son. My son, the first thing he'll say, "Well, my mama do it." He tell the truth. He truth bound. He tell the truth no matter what it sound like. But I just wanted to kind of put that as an example.
no, it's a funny example, but it is this very true, But we as we as parents, we all have made mistakes, and we all make mistakes, and kids will hear conversations at times that they're not supposed to hear, and they will pick up the behavioral habits of parents that are negative. But here's the other thing: they also pick up the habits that are positive. So as long as you, even in the mistakes you make and how you speak, you correct those and you do things the right way, the music won't influence how your kids talk. My sons know the N word is a bad word. They know the history why that word's bad word. I don't think they've ever heard me use it. I don't use it as a term of endearment. So if I ever said that word, it was deliberate and intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's key. Again, we have lost largely in some aspects generations of where people are actually present in their kids' life to teach them foundational principles and morals such as that. When you have tablets, iPads, cell phones at the fingertips, and they're raising our children. These people that run these platforms don't give a damn about your child or your children. They half of them don't even care about their own children. And if you think about it, I'm going to sound hypocritical, but there is a people that understand. And when you start speaking on people like dealing with technology, they see the dangers, they see the perversion, they see how deep the rabbit hole can go with these social media platforms. They actually, even though they're aware of it and they're immersed in it by trade, they prohibit their children from interacting or dealing with it at all. I've seen quite a bit of that as well. So I know I went from one end to the other end. I don't know if you have time for one more quick video, but I wanted to get your take on this one last video, and then we can go ahead and wrap it up if nobody else wants to hit the link.
no worries. I put something in the back chat for you too if you wanted to
Okay, sure.
share that quickly. It was just it was another video of Farrakhan talking about.
Yeah, let's do it. Hold on a minute. Yes, indeed. Give me 1 second. So if y'all haven't hit the like button, please do so. I appreciate y'all. Share screen. Okay, hold on.
And guys, make sure y'all sub up to some of those content creators that I'm dropping down in there.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing that. Absolutely. There it is. Okay. Is it on mirror? Yeah.
Thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Rapping, calling your sisters bitches and hoes. And then when you get your award for degrading yourself and your people, I thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. The white man will give you an Academy Award for calling your women bitches and whores and glorifying pimp life. So you become a millionaire on degradation and you think that's all right. Rapping, calling your sisters bitches and hoes. And then when you get your award for degrading yourself and your people, I thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
He ain't never lied. Uh-oh. Bad, y'all. He ain't never lied. He ain't never lied. And you know what? Without a lot of times it being brought to the forefront, we're so programmed collectively that people don't even realize that that's what's being done.
He's one that a lot of people who are afraid to hear what he's saying are going to miss a moment when he's gone.
Ooh, we all gonna feel that one.
And the folks who and it's not the people who will embrace what he's saying and the message of uplift he brings to our people who are going to feel it. It's going to be the ones who try to come out in troves and silently or secretly mourn when he passes or try to give him his flowers after he's gone because it's safe for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going to be the ones that's going to feel it more.
Ain't that something? Can you imagine what kind of weight or what kind of cognizance that takes to know that, and you still stay on assignment, you still stay totally dedicated to your purpose, even when it seems like it's thankless at times?
The white man will give you an Academy Award for calling your women bitches and whores and glorifying pimp life. So you become a millionaire on degradation and you think that's all right. Rapping.
I think that that's all right. I totally, man, I could listen to him. And I have had moments where I've listened to him all day until they started censoring him on the platforms. But if you look, you still find some great clips and you know, him speaking publicly and just always with every word, he's intentional.
Absolutely.
So you hang on to every word. And I think that we don't have enough of that anymore. He commands the ear that is tuned in to listen to what he's saying without even trying, because again, he is on purpose and he is intentional.
And I think he's what we lack even here. So there are a few of us. So I'll say, and I'm going to speak for myself. I don't come up here as a character. I don't come up here for play. I don't come up here for cash apps. I don't come up here trying to say things that people like to hear. I think there are a few of us, you're one of them, but there are people who are actually real, genuine folks who try to make content. And there are real, genuine folks who have feelings or thoughts or opinions or emotions when they come up here. And I think he's one of the people in the broader scheme of things, a broader spectrum, who's a real person. And that's why a lot of people struggle with him, because he's not coming from a Democrat angle or a Republican angle. He's not coming from a strictly Muslim angle, or he's not coming as a fake Christian angle. He's coming and he's telling you exactly what he's thought for more than some odd years. And some people don't like it. Some people will try to spin it. But him, and I know some people aren't going to like it, Donald Trump and a few others are just uniquely authentic to themselves. And it scares a lot of people when you can be uniquely authentic.
What does the Bible tell you? What's up is down and what's down is up. Definitely. We are living in it. I'm telling you, things have, you lived enough life to be able to make the comparison. Things are totally flipped upside down in so many regards, from morality to immorality. I don't want to go too far off topic. I think it's all relative, but I know, it gets to a certain point where it's like, okay, your point's been made. So we definitely got it. But I'm going to show this last clip and then I'm going to let you go, Mel. If you could just give me your take and what your opinion is on this particular clip.
For sure.
Sis, come here real quick. Let me tell you something. It's not normal for that man to be calling you a bitch. It's not. It's not normal for him to be calling you a bitch. It's not normal for him to be yelling up in your face. It's not normal for him to even put his hands on you or to threaten to put his hands on you. Sis, it's not normal for you to be crying every single day in silence and suffering in silence. That's not normal, sis. And if you're isolated right now, I suggest you to get around some of your sisters. Even if you got to go to church and you ain't been to church in years, or even if you got to be surrounded by your sisters. It's your sisters that are going to uplift you. It's your sisters that are going to mend your broken heart. It's your sisters that are going to bring you back to where you need to be and elevate you. Because guess what? As women, we are the closest thing to God on this earth. So come on, pick your head up. Keep going.
And I know you're a man, so let me just put this addendum out there. And but I like to get a man's perspective on that, considering this is the one clip that I saw, or is more than one, but this was the primary clip that I saw where her comment section was flooded with women that was thanking her for actually having the courage to post that kind of information, and they felt uplifted and they felt reassured and they felt like, okay, this is re-guiding me back to, relating to my self-worth, or helping me to recognize that I do have self-worth.
Well, the thing that stood out to me was the closest to God thing. Closest to God is the people who have relationships regardless of the gender. That was just something I'm like, huh, she said that. But the main point that you're bringing up with what she said is great that we have somebody who's a younger person who is trying to bring and restore the inner value for our women, for our young women. I would just hope that she would take that and that people who receive that message would then use it and look at our industry and look at our culture that's been created through the industry for our young girls and for our women. So it sounds great to hear that message for her bringing that up. And if she can reach 100,000 people or 1,000 people, my only hope for her, for that message that she shared, is that that message be reciprocated for everyone who was in that chat or in that on our comment section. So this kind of stays on topic of what I'm saying, but it's a little bit of a side note. I don't know. It might be a little bit inappropriate, but there was a short that I saw from Erykah Badu, and a woman was interviewing her and said, "What advice do you have for women in the music industry?" I don't know if you saw that clip or not. And Erykah Badu said something that was kind of inappropriate, but it opened the eyes up about what the industry does to women. Hopefully, that message that young lady just shared goes to empower women in that industry, because there was nothing more embarrassing than watching a supposed black female presidential candidate having a lady up on her platform twerking. We're better than that. We're better than the Jasmine Crockett. I'm not going into politics because I ain't trying to do that on your page, but we're better than the Jasmine Crockett's. We're better than the lady with the mayor up there in Illinois. So it sounds good, but I'm just saying the people who have the more power and the platforms, we're not holding them accountable. So how far reach can she have? So that's what I got from that.
Okay. All right. Respect. Definitely appreciate your vantage point on it. You know, I'll take it in small bite pieces. I'll take it from people, because even the people that have the smaller platforms, I will always believe that there are certain people that they are supposed to reach, and the people that navigate and migrate to them and to whatever they have to say definitely is no less powerful, in my opinion. In some instances, it can even be more powerful because you're more relatable and you're more accessible than people that have big platforms. But it also depends on the person receiving the information and what they're looking for, because we are definitely living in a culture where people are starstruck and celebrity attracted.
No, for sure. And, I do think she missed the moment, because there are certain messages that only women can give to women, certain messages that only men can give to men. But I think that was a message that if she didn't just narrow it to women, just said, men, about men respecting women or being I would like to see men try to speak on the value of manhood by saying, be the type of man that a woman ... and women do the same. I don't know if that makes sense. But with that being said, Ms. C𝘰𝘨, it's been a very good honor as always for you having me up here. My wife is such a wonderful woman. She is making me shrimp Alfredo. The kids are with their grandparents. We're going to have ourselves a good night. We're binge watching a show from the 1980s, and I love every moment of spending time with her. So
Tell her that I thank you for sharing you with me and the platform and the people that are listening. And thank you for being patient. And I hope you all enjoy your evening to the utmost. And definitely a beautiful thing that we can all take away to enjoy and appreciate your family and your loved ones while you have them.
Salute. Take care, Ms. C𝘰𝘨.
All right. You as well. Thank you. Yes, so y'all listen. This has been a great live stream. I don't listen, I want more of us to go and spend time with our loved ones and our family members and value this. Some of the weather where I am has been beautiful today, and I've gotten out in bits and pieces to experience it. Got my hand in some soil, planted some seeds. Definitely tried to do something outside of dealing with this YouTube stuff all day long, every day. But I did want to pop in and go live. And I'm glad that we talked about the topic. I appreciate everybody that came up on the panel, that engaged in the chat and conversation, brought up some great points. And I wanted to read some of them out, but sometimes when that happens, it kind of disrupts the flow. And then with my ADHD and how it's set up, it may be more of a risk than, an attribute. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody for coming on through. Hit that like button on your way out if you haven't already. Sub up to the channels that have been dropped into the link. These are all content creators that we support and stand behind. I want to say salute to the chat. I want to take a few moments to go and name, drop some names down for y'all coming in and actually typing inside the chat. We got Smitty that just came through. Salute, Smitty. Thank you for sliding through. Mike Nice is in the building. Salute to you. Thank you so much for your time. Definitely Uncle Eldon Slave. So Lord have mercy, came through, slid through is what I was trying to say. So forgive me for that. And then we got Billy Davis up in the building. I appreciate everybody. T-Rail and typed in the chat and came on through. I appreciate every last one of y'all. Brooklyn Diva been up in this thing. Thank you, everybody. K Soprano came up through this chat and definitely contributed to the conversation. And if I missed anybody, I charge it to my head and not my heart. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody coming through. If you're just coming in or if you haven't caught it from the beginning, I encourage you to catch the replay. The panel was awesome. And I definitely tried to touch on some topics where, there could be some balance brought into the conversation when it comes to the different contexts that the word bitch is used. And I appreciate Miss Yo Thoughts actually mentioning that it's the energy that's put behind it, because just by themselves, words mean very little. So I definitely think that there is power behind it, being able to discern and detect in what type of manner it is being given in. When we talk about cultural reclamation, you have a lot of women out here that seem aggressive, and that could be part of their dialect to assert dominance, strength, sisterhood. We just have to keep in mind that we are still in a male-dominated society with a male-dominated standard of behavior. So with those things being brought up, just keep an open mind going through the information in this live stream. And I will see y'all in the next chat or the next live. Great live. Appreciate y'all coming through on the live. And with that being said, I'm out.